Hello, welcome back. You are here for Career Accelerator Hacks Live with me, Sally Spicer, and my wonderful guest, who I'm really excited about having on, my dear friend, Lysha Holmes. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you so much for having me on. Hello, everybody. I'm so honoured to be invited on here because I've been watching the live hack shows and I've known Sally now for it must be about 15 months.
Yeah.
I just love everything about you. I think you're incredible what you do. So welcome to everyone today. And I hope you find something interesting to take away from today's show.
Yeah, we have got so much to pack in. And I've been, in fact, I was the first, when I did my first ever podcast interview, it was on your show, wasn't it? And I was like a little rabbit in the headlights. So it feels like, yeah, we've gone full circle. I kind of know, well, I say I kind of know what I'm doing now. I kind of don't, but the fact that you're on with me is just absolutely brilliant. Thank you. And we're going to unpack so much today. I really want to talk about your career history. I really want to talk about recruitment. I think that's a really, really poignant thing to talk about at the moment, especially as it's been broadcast to LinkedIn. But I also want to talk about your journey because I find it absolutely fascinating. But just to give everyone a little bit of kind of context, Lysha and I met virtually at the beginning of the pandemic, didn't we? Beginning of the lockdown. And I saw an amazing post by our dear friend, Amelia Sordell. And she said, I've got this group called Women Unleashed. And I just messaged her and said, I need to be part of this group. I don't even know what it was. And I felt like, imposter syndrome was like kind of creeping. And I just thought something is just pulling me towards this group. And that's where we met.
Yeah, and it's now our tribe, our dearest tribe, and there's nothing contrived about us. For anyone that's a bit cynical about it, we're not a pod. We genuinely care about each other. I think we all shared that imposter syndrome. We're all very strong women, but we all felt a little bit like, oh my God, it's COVID, what's going on? And we've all laughed, we've cried, we've shared so much, and it's for everybody that's on there. Hello to everybody, Women Unleashed. We are just the most incredible, genuine, authentic tribe that I've ever known. And I just love being part of it. And we haven't actually still met, which is ridiculous.
No. But we are. We've got a date in the diary, which is really, really exciting. But yeah, so when I first started doing my lives, Lysha was really somebody that I looked up to and said, how do I do it? What do I do? What am I going to talk about? How am I going to get over myself? And yeah, so genuinely, you have been like a support to me through through my development over the last 15 months. So I wanted to thank you. But let's not talk about me. Let's talk about you. Talk us through your career history. What kind of brings you up to this point?
Okay. So I'll keep it succinct. I failed my A-levels when I was supposed to pass them and put myself into a business studies course. And during that, I actually did a marketing placement in my middle year of my HND. And at the end of that, I got to do a presentation to all the local employers. One of the employers came over to me, invited me in for an interview, and I started my first marketing job age 19 and 3/4 before I'd even actually finished my HND. So I accidentally fell into marketing. It was an awful business. When I look back now, it was misogynistic. It was a manufacturing company. I was the only female in there, wolf whistles around the factory. It wasn't really marketing. It was telesales. But they put me through my Chartered Institute of Marketing diploma, for which now, when you look back 25 years later, I do think it gave me a really good foundation for the world that we live in. I did that job for a year and then got made redundant, then moved into property management. So that was running a portfolio of residential houses, DSS, as well as private rents. Did that for 3.5 years, ran the maintenance. And looking back now, that gave me very transferable skills to the recruitment sector because you are matching tenants to houses. It's all about time management. Then met my now ex-first husband, moved down to Birmingham, worked for Britvic Soft Drinks in the telesales department, which was fantastic. Brilliant environment, great corporate business. Got frustrated.
Even the company name's cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a brilliant environment. I was 23. It was great. Everybody started on the same day. After about 10 months, got really frustrated because although I was top salesperson, I couldn't earn it. It was capped bonus to about 50 quid. And unless you wanted to go and work in head office, which was in Surrey, which I didn't really want to do, you were very limited. So I opened the Grocer magazine and there was a shiny advert for a recruitment consultant. I was like, what's this? In 1998. Rang up, got the job, obviously went through a few interviews, and that was in engineering for a company in Birmingham. And I then became top biller just by headhunting people. I would just pick up the phone, start speaking to an engineer. Before you knew it, him and all his mates would be sat in your office on a Friday afternoon because they all finished at lunchtime. 3 glorious years there before splitting up with the then first husband, moving back to Manchester, which is where I'm from. If anybody's in Manchester, say hello. And joined a boutique business called Fee Farah Jones, which is the Aspire Group, which is a global group now. But we, at the time, very well known, Paul Farah, hello to anyone. I'm still connected to a lot of people from there. And in fact, Laura Dutton, my business partner for London, we met at Fee Farah Jones. So they did media recruitment. So that was advertising, creative, publishing. In Manchester, it was very specifically media. Launched an advertising desk. But after a few months, rec to rec, which at the time we're talking 2002, was just becoming a thing.
Can I just stop you there? So for anyone who's not in the industry, what does rec to rec actually mean?
Rec to rec is recruitment to recruitment. So this is where we, as the recruiter, we partner recruitment companies to find them their recruitment consultants and recruitment managers. So it's called rec to rec. So if I refer to that, that's what I'm referring to. And it was, ultimately we were dealing with salespeople in media sales, and they make brilliant recruitment consultants. So it was still a very new industry. Now it's a saturated market in rec to rec, as most markets are. But in 2002, it was a very new market. So within my first month, I just knew that this is where my heart would be. Did that amazing sector for 2 years until I then got married to my second husband and had my first baby. And flexible working was definitely not a thing in 2004, 2005. You just didn't, there was nothing available. So set up Key Recruitment, which is where I've been since 2005.
That's incredible. And it was born off the back of you having your child and wanting a kind of,
Yeah, it was. I mean, there was no flexibility available. I also had, there were a number of times where over my recruitment career, working for 6 years for 2 other businesses, where I'm not a yes person, and there had been challenges of me saying, well, why are we doing it this way? And no, I don't want to do that. I'm at the root of everything that I do is my integrity, and that at times can be a conflict as a recruitment business owner, because very often you're thinking, well, revenue profit versus what's the right thing to do. And I've always been towards the right thing to do, and ultimately you will still make money. And yeah, it was born at my kitchen table with my ex-husband, with a baby sat bouncing on my knee. And recruitment was born because I didn't want it to be named after myself. And key QUI stands for quality, urgency, and integrity, and means who.
I never knew that.
Okay. And it was about, well, basically Matt said to me, what do you stand for? And I said, I actually said it in reverse. I said integrity. I've got real urgency because I have got real pace, and quality. So yeah, that's where it came from. 2005. So we started on the 10th of October. And it was a lifestyle business, there's no question. And at the time, if you got a recruiter, you would place them. It was as simple as that. You could manage it around your little baby. Very different now, though, of course. But yeah, since.
Fantastic. What an incredible story. And, what then happened? I don't know whether to go personal or whether to go kind of business. Which direction do you want to take it?
Well, we can collide it. So, I mean, the market in 2005 for most sort of perm recruiters, it was less saturated. You didn't have LinkedIn then, of course. It was very much around relationships. I mean, I personally have never used job boards because I'm quite cynical about a recruiter going on a job board. I don't think they should. So it was all around relationships. And I do think that's a really important point to make, because ironically, although we have all this technology and all this social media, that's very much where recruitment, for me as a recruiter, that's kind of gone full circle. Then I had my second daughter in 2007. And had 6 months off, came back to work, and then of course the dreaded credit crunch hit in 2008. And the recruitment industry had, although I'd actually worked through a recession in late 90s in the automotive sector, particularly. I think it's when there was lots of investment in other countries. Actually, the credit crunch did something to the recruitment industry that had never happened before. It wiped out middle management. It absolutely decimated the sector. And it's an important point to make, because of course that lent itself for, I could fall back on that experience when we went through COVID last year, although we had furlough this time. And it transformed, I think, how a rec to rec was perceived. And obviously then it's become one of the fastest growing sectors in itself. Recruiters want to partner with the recruitment firms. I had to go full time. I had again, second baby bouncing on my knee, but once the credit crunch hit, it was, all hands to the pump. So there was none of this kind of going on mum dates or, play groups. I just had to work to survive, because key recruitment is my third baby. I've always said that. And yeah, just, so, at the time it was a buoyant market, and you really could, just, I guess, fill your boots. Laura joined me. So Laura and I used to work together at FIFA Jones. She joined me in 2016. So she runs very specifically London market. Wow. And then Shannon joined the business in June 2017, which then, to bring the personal story back in March 2017, my second husband and I split up. And so I then had to go, I had to balance being single mum with running a full-time business. And I know that that's something that, to a lot of your audience, I know you share a lot about that. Yeah. I think it gives you a very different perspective. It gives you a huge respect for anybody that's had to be a single parent. I'm actually a single solo parent, because my ex-husband actually then moved abroad in January 2019, and due to COVID has only seen the girls a couple of times over the last 2 years. So that is very challenging. And so I think that for me, it gives me a newfound respect for any business owner or any individual that has had to juggle. But it also makes me realise how incredible a working parent actually is, because ultimately we have exceptional time management sort of skills, focusing on the things that make us work smarter rather than harder, because we've got so many things to think about. So, and I know that's a really important thing that we'll probably come on to talk about.
Yeah, and I mean, let's kind of delve into it now, because I think, you brought up a few issues there, and I think it's difficult. I think I've grown up. My kids are probably similar ages to you. My two elder ones are similar ages to you. So I was having my second child when the recession hit, and I remember thinking, my goodness, this is the best time to go off and have a baby, because he's a year younger than yours. So he's 2009, but then thinking, having this enormous pressure to go back quickly, because if you took any time out of that market at that time, it was just going to be catastrophic. And I think a lot of people strangely have an issue with how recruiters make their money, but essentially, we don't really question how other industries make their money. It's just, it happens that we're a service-based industry, placing people into roles which we then charge for. But for a lot of recruiters, base salaries aren't enough to live and work on. And so you do need your commission, especially if you're running your own business and you haven't even got a base salary. So, but I think people have issues with that, with recruiters earning money off the basis of, charging an invoice for, for a service being delivered. And I think it's a really important point to make here. And I'll never forget, it was actually a friend that I'd grown up with years ago. He said this to me. He said, "So what, you charge 20% for sending a CV?" And I went, "No. That's not what I do." And it's really important that anyone that's watching this that hasn't really understood what recruitment's about, you are buying that network. You're buying the knowledge of your recruiter, who is spending all their time interviewing, benchmarking, understanding where you position your business versus everybody else. We are here to, and in the same way, would you question your accountant, your lawyer, your your IFA on a mortgage? We are as knowledgeable in our job as those people are in their industries. And that's what you're paying for. You're not paying for the CV, that one lucky CV. No, that's not what you're paying for. No, absolutely. And also the understanding of the industry. It's not even about the network, it's about being, knees deep in your industry and knowing. I always joke that if I was ever on Mastermind and my, in that black chair, my special subject would be accountancy. I'm not a qualified accountant, but my goodness, do I know a huge amount about how a company accounts for things, how it runs, what commercial outlook, what strategy, businesses have, and how to best place people who are going to thrive in that environment. So, I think it's really, it's an important thing to remember, especially when you're trying to batten, recruiters down on price.
But to be fair, that also comes down to the recruiter to take responsibility for how they transact with their candidate or client. If you just act in a transactional way, that's how it will be perceived. But if you genuinely elevate your relationship through, going through the granular detail, taking time to understand the culture, taking time to understand why somebody's looking to leave their job. Your entire coaching business is around people elevating their career. Really, what is your why? What is your why? And if more recruiters ask that job, what is your why, to both candidates and clients, they would then elevate themselves to those individuals, because you've taken time to do that. Whereas a lot of people won't bother because it takes time to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I feel like we've gone completely off piece. You can tell when I get really emotional and engaged about something. But going back to this kind of work-life balance, I think, I was in a similar situation to you, where I was a single mother of 2 kids, in the credit crunch and the crisis. And I think you're right. How do you then, and what have you learned, I think, is the question, in terms of that balance? Because you're having to be everything to everyone. You're having to be everything to your clients and your candidates and your baby, your business, and the income that's been generated to keep your house afloat. And then you've also got full responsibility of 2 children who need their mum.
Yeah. Okay.
How do you balance it?
Pre-COVID, becoming a single parent, people would still say to me, "You seem to have got all the balance right." And I think that lent itself very well when I became a single parent, which, I had that for 3 years effectively before COVID hit, and then obviously during COVID. And the single most important thing I can say to anybody that's in this position, whether it's part of this or not, or some of it, is this is my family motto, right? Can you see?
I can't make it. Be
kind.
Yeah.
Right? But be kind to yourself, and you've got to put yourself first, because if you are not looking after you, everything else will fall apart. It doesn't matter what an amazing network of people you've got to support your children. It doesn't matter what a brilliant team you've got around you. If you're not actually taking time for you every single day, it's irrelevant. So everything else falls apart. So you are the pillar, the ultimate pillar. And when I say be kind to yourself, I'm thinking everybody's individual, so everybody will find their own way to do this. There's no right or wrong. For me, I know that if I don't get up and do that HIIT every morning, it will not be a great day. So I lay my exercise mat out before I go to sleep, because that's accountability, because I have to walk over it.
Yeah.
I set my alarm half an hour earlier than I actually need to. And it means I can just kind of go, oh God, here we go, 5:30 again. But you're giving yourself that time in the morning before anyone else demands anything off you. And I promise you, it is counterintuitive to think, oh, I'll just have another half an hour in bed. No. Giving yourself that half an hour in the morning before anyone else needs anything off you. So before the children wake up, before you check your phone or your emails, whether it's yoga, whether it's a walk, whether it's a swim, whatever it is, dog, having a coffee, listening to a podcast, whatever it is, you'll find the right thing for you. I promise you, that's the best life hack I can give you. That half an hour in the morning will set the tone for the day. Don't leave it till the night time. You're too exhausted. I mean, who doesn't fall asleep on the sofa for the past 45? That's what we do. Do it in the first thing in the morning. And I know that I speak to other parents about it, and they go, oh, but it's another half an hour. I've got a child that doesn't sleep. I promise you, it plays into, this is me and my time, and half an hour, that's all you need. And then 6 o'clock, the children will wake up, or you'll have to go and empty the dishwasher, sit down and do your plan, whatever it is. That's the starting point. I was going to say the other important thing, and I'm not giving practical things here, these are just life hacks. Say no to things. Say no to that client that just treats you like a transactional, maybe they're the best company in the world, but if they treat you like a piece of poo, don't do business with them. Those friends, or friends that have you've been friends with for a long time, and actually they don't understand your life now, and they keep putting pressure on you, or derogatory, whatever it might be. You need to say no to them. And it's learning to say no means that the quality, we'll come back to quality of your time spent is on things that you can sort of enjoy, but also can control. Control your controllables. Anything else, it actually doesn't matter. We've all learned that last year, surely. We can control our world, our microcosm, but anything else that comes out of our control, you've just got to be pragmatic and go with the flow a little bit. And don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah, I think so. I think asking for help is definitely one. And it's interesting because a lot of the work that I do with my clients, my coaching clients, they are trying, they're here and they're with me to make a change. And you'd be surprised at how many of them don't carve out time for themselves. And I ask them to, in terms of that be kind, I'm a huge fan of kind of positive affirmations and changing your narrative to, even saying things like, I am enough. I had a client session last week with somebody who's been in a role for 9 weeks, and she's already trying to pick herself out of things that she's not doing, and she's trying to create these hoops that she's then trying to jump through. And I'm like, you do realize that you're creating these hoops, no one else is trying to create these hoops. And she really struggles with thinking that she's not enough. And I'm like, you absolutely are. When have you ever, what's your biggest fear? My biggest fear is ballsing up and dropping a ball. Okay. When was the last time you dropped a ball? And she couldn't answer. She hasn't ever dropped a ball. So she's creating these situations where she thinks she's going to drop a ball, and then putting herself under more pressure and not ever carving any kind of time out for herself. And you know what, on that point, what made me laugh this morning, when I was up doing my hit this morning and I looked at my phone, it was you at like 6:30. No, it's fine. They were like, still on for today. But I'm the same as you. I feel like I need time, because I think as well, especially as a mother or a parent, not a mother, a parent, as soon as those kids wake up, they want you, don't they? So actually, in order to have time for yourself, to be in your own headspace, to just think about you and set yourself up for the day, and it doesn't have to be half an hour, it could start with 10 minutes and then go to 20, eking out that time.
You're buying your time.
You're absolutely buying your time. And what I absolutely love, have you ever listened to Happy Sexy Millionaire, Steve Bartlett?
I've read his book. It's amazing.
Absolutely. Highly recommend it to anyone who's watching this. But he said that he got egg timers and put them around his house, because once you see your time going and that sound going, it's a real eye-opener to say, am I using my time wisely? So yes, am I using my time wisely? Am I doing the things that I want to be doing with that time? Time is the biggest commodity that you've got.
It's the most powerful chapter of any book you will ever read, and it makes you feel. I reread it, so I read it and then I read it back again, and I just thought, because I'm 47, and I just thought, oh my God, it didn't panic me because I'm very calm, but I just thought, Jesus Christ, if everybody just walked around with that mentality of, that is a waste of my time. I don't want to watch that program. It's a waste of my time. I don't want to talk. Start thinking like that. It you're much more accountable to yourself. Where are you going to get the value most out of your day? And that's the thing. With all the things we have to do, school runs, parenting, whatever those things are. I mean, my children are older, but there are things, I'm mum taxi permanently, but that's my time to them. But why wouldn't you make time for yourself? You will make time for your children. You will make time for your team. You'll make time for your client. Why aren't you making time for yourself in the day? We have 24 hours.
Yeah.
So if you're not making time every day for yourself, what are you doing with the rest of the day? I haven't got time, but you'll sit and watch crap on Netflix for 2 hours a night. Level your day slightly and give yourself that time at the start of your day. And I promise you, even if it is literally listening to Classic FM with a coffee, that's you and your time. We're not saying there's any right or wrong here. I do think personally, something to energize you, to elevate your heart rate. We're talking endorphins, we're talking happy hormones. It then becomes self-perpetuating. And apart from anything else, when you're fit, you do feel better about other things. And when COVID hits, when challenges hit, when you don't get that deal and whatever it might be, you've got the capability mentally to deal with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about health then, because I think this is a really, really important and something that what Scotch is built on. It's built on community. It's built on self-development, whether that be in your career or whether that be setting up your own business, but it's also built on well-being. And I've seen so many people, as I said well-being, I looked down and Penny popped up. Hi, Penny, who is my well-being queen. So talk to me about your well-being journey, because this is fascinating and inspiring.
So, well, thank you. So I'm your typical recruiter up till 2016, really, in terms of alcohol. There's a definite sort of connection between the two, as it is in a lot of sectors. It's celebratory, it's team-based, you go out for a few drinks, you have a liquid lunch, whatever it might be. And, up until 2016, I didn't really think there was anything wrong with that. I obviously have 2 children. I've always been fairly active with them. I live in a beautiful place in Lancashire called Ramsbottom. But as I went past 40, and anyone that's over that age, you'll know what I mean. All of a sudden, you just think, I can't seem to just shift that weight anymore. I was never sort of morbidly obese or anything like that, but I was definitely unfit. And I didn't connect that with alcohol at all. I was doing doing my hits and it just didn't seem to fall off. Doing my 10,000 steps didn't seem to fall off. And then had a very boozy summer in 2016. Had a sort of the ultimate night of throwing up, which I hadn't done ever in my whole life, and thought, what are you doing? What are you doing? Literally couldn't go near alcohol. The thought of it just made me like physically ill. It was for about 2 months. And then I realized, actually, I'm okay. You know, I've not died. I'm absolutely fine on social occasions. And whilst other people come up to me going, well, you're not having a drink, I felt okay. So I started to dabble with this idea of maybe I should just try a life with no alcohol. But the sort of perception of everybody else around me meant that I call it my moderation period. So if it was somebody's birthday, I would still get a glass of Prosecco. But instead of knocking it back in 2 seconds pre-August, I would literally nurse it all night. I couldn't drink it. So I finally made the decision. Well, no, probably after the Christmas, I was thinking, you know, this is just not me. And then my husband and I split up. And I will touch on that because I think it's important to contextualize it. But I guess that anyone that doesn't know this story is going to think, please don't make this just a half an hour. My husband of 18 years actually came out as gay on the 5th of March, 2017. And it was a bolt from the blue. I didn't have a clue. Retrospectively, you know, you do look back on things and think that's possibly a clue. But he basically hid it from himself, and he actually used alcohol to numb his true self, which is very sad. You know, that 1980s, growing up in, you know, sort of middle class Sutton Coldfield in an all boys school, he just, you know, he locked it away all his life. So he came out. Obviously, we had to deal with that as parents. As a business owner, I had to deal with it by, you know, I throw myself into work. But at that point then, after about 2 or 3 weeks after the shock had settled in, I thought, I'm not going to be that mother that turns to the gin. I knew then I wouldn't drink again. My final drink was on my birthday with my best friend, and I just said, you know what, I actually don't want this. And so that I classed that as my teetotal day. And combine that with, you know, what I was going through, I know for a fact that that's why I've coped, I know, admirably. You know, I've been very positive throughout the whole thing. I sort of got fit. Basically, I started doing the hits, you know, more regularly because I had the energy to do so. So I do them at least 5 days a week. Dropped 3 dress sizes without dieting because I am a massive, anyone that follows me on Instagram, I'm a massive foodie. I love to eat. I actually eat probably about 5 meals a day. I've got a very fast metabolism. And then the biggest thing, and I'm not evangelical about alcohol, being alcohol free, but if people don't realize how much it affects your sleep. And actually everything starts with good sleep, because if you have a good sleep, you'll wake up and feel great, and you're probably more likely to do the things we're talking about. You can have a great day. And so you realize that if you think about it now, as you're listening to this, the last time you had a great night's sleep, I bet you didn't have an alcoholic drink the night before. And so for me, my sleep quality, and it all started with that. And so for, you know, I'm now 4.5 years teetotal. I sleep well. And thank you. I'm very calm. I realise now that for me, alcohol actually, I used to think it made Lysha sort of more vibrant and more gregarious, but I've realised that all it did was it dimmed my light. It didn't really me. It dimmed me. And, you know, I was never a bad drunk. I think I was quite funny. I was very leery, but I realised now it made me grumpy the next day. And anyone that has got children that's watching, you know, to get that feedback retrospectively from my daughters when I stopped drinking, when my youngest turned around to me and said, I hated it when you used to have a drink, Mum, you were really grumpy. And it really cuts through you. So that was, I knew then I'd done the right thing for me. There was a period where I think they were a little bit not ashamed of me, but, you know, especially my older one who's, you know, 16, 17, they're drinking. Not a lot, I have to say. They're very moderate in what they actually do. They don't have these extremes. But for me, going through the last 4 years, and then collectively we've all gone through COVID, I know for a fact that my well-being and my mental and physical fitness allowed me to get through COVID with a smile on my face every day, and appreciating and compassionate to those that were struggling around me. But it's given me my strength to live life the way that I do. And it's not a regret, because I don't actually have regrets. I think you can look back and think, well, if I'd done things differently. But I do think our society is very dependent upon alcohol. And so I'm not evangelical. I don't preach. But I do have people that seem to gravitate towards me, particularly in recruitment, who who are trying to go on that sobriety journey. And I think that the world I'm so pleased that the world seems to have embraced alcohol free. You know, we can get alcohol free drinks. I mean, I personally don't actually. I just don't feel like I need to replace anything. I don't miss it at all. But I think if you're struggling with, you know, your mood swings, if you're struggling with weight loss, if you're struggling with sleep, maybe think about your alcohol consumption, because actually it diminishes and affects all of those things.
Have you ever read Diaries of a Sober Mummy?
No, but all my sober friends share all these books, and I haven't actually, but sure.
No, do you know what? Yeah, it's actually a really good book. I read it and then bought it for my work wife, and I'm sending you this book because I'm like, I would drink. But yeah, no, I've definitely cut down. I've definitely cut down. But we can't. And thank you for sharing that. But I've got to now go back and talk to you about the day your husband came out and how that actually impacted you. Because, you know, take away you're a mother, take away you're a business owner, take away you're a wife, take away all of that stuff, because I think it's very easy to hide. Is hide the right word? How did that make you feel?
On that day, I was genuinely in shock. I literally could not believe what I was hearing. That, you know, what was I, 43? At 43 years of age, spent the best part of 20 years with this man, 2 businesses together, because he had his business, I had mine, 2 children. And I just thought, literally didn't know this. I didn't have a clue. And, you know, and I know that one of the Women Unleashed, we talked about this within our group. I actually, unbeknownst to me, was actually doing a mantra every day because that was on the Sunday, and I'm the sort of person, and I know that again everybody handles things differently, but I throw myself into it when things happen like this. So I was, you know, I said to him, I'm just literally going to work like an absolute demon, because I needed to process it. And I would drive to Manchester, which is about an hour from where I live, with a mantra, and I would literally say, I can't believe he's gay, I can't believe he's gay, I can't believe he's gay. And I did that for 3 weeks.
Wow.
And I didn't realize what I was doing, but it was my brain trying to accept what he told me.
Yeah.
And it took about 3 weeks for it to, we didn't tell the children, obviously. He just kind of, I think he was a little bit in awe, really, because I just, you know, obviously I broke my heart on the day that he told me, but actually after that, I was sending him, you know, blogs of other men that had come out in their 40s and like get in touch with this forum. And he was just like, well, you're so practical. But that's what I do. I'm a very, very practical person.
And the meme queen as well.
Meme queen. Oh yeah, he's not really into that. But I was just being practical for him. And then at 3 weeks, I literally just thought, right, he needs to move out. You know, now the practical part of my brain really kicked in. So I realised now retrospectively what I did was, and again, it bode really well for COVID last year. You've got to give your brain time to adjust to things, and just don't be afraid just to pause and think, right, I know I need to get to the next stage, but it will take time to get there. And then the practical sort of component came in. We talked about where I helped him find an apartment. I mean, again, we then planned when we were going to tell the children. So we timed it with the Easter holidays. We thought, and I'll literally book the 2 weeks off work. Of course, bring back into the early part of the story, I had Shannon starting.
Oh, goodness, yeah.
But she wasn't starting for a while. But, you know, again, I had obviously Laura working with me, and I didn't tell anybody for weeks, actually, what was going on. I'm very private like that. Didn't tell us. So I threw myself into work. I actually had one of my best months ever, ironically, which is crazy. And then we told the children. And then, you know, from there, it was more about me being mum and, you know, supporting them. And ironically, supporting him, because I knew right from that minute he told me, my brain went to, this is going to be hell for him. It wasn't about, I knew I'd be fine. I just knew I'd be okay, because at the end of the day, my life ultimately wasn't going to change enormously, although it obviously has significantly changed since then through positive changes, you know. But for him, coming out as a gay man in your late 40s, you know, was never going to be the easier part of the journey. It was always going to be difficult. But do you know what's really good is that, and this is, you know, for anyone that's got younger children or teenagers or is a young person themselves watching this, the mindset of my daughters was just mind-blowing. And with everything else that's going on with the horrendous racial abuse that the England players got the other night, that the new generation coming through, it's our job to educate them, but actually we should learn from them, because my daughter's reaction was, why couldn't dad be true to himself? Why did he have to lie about it? And we had to explain, well, because this is how the culture was, and particularly where he lived. And it still happens to this day. And now that they're older, In fact, the older one particularly, who, as I say, is going to college this year, she's like the beacon for anyone that's exploring their sexuality, their gender. You know, she's got friends who are non-binary, who are pansexual. She proudly flies the bisexual flag in her room, even though she classes herself as heterosexual. You know, she's taught me about having she, they on my profile. I just applaud these young. We've got to learn from young people around us, because actually they're creating a kinder world and more accepting world.
They are, but you've got to take some credit for that, Lysha. You've taught her, you know, you've taught her to stand up for what you believe in. And so kudos to you.
It's about how people make you feel. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what background someone's from. They can be from, you know, it doesn't matter where they're from, what colour they are, what creed, what religion, what sex, what gender. It's how somebody makes you feel, and it's how they behave with you. That's what you judge somebody on. And if they're an absolute cow to you, then you can't get them out of your life. So, yeah.
Oh, right. We are getting on with time, but I need to ask you about this. Okay. I need to talk to you about personal brand. And the reason I want to ask you about this is because of the pivot that you made, not in terms of the business, in terms of pivoting and doing something else, but you are absolutely a shining light in the recruitment world. So many people look up to you. You bring real life issues to the forefront. You've got recruitment to recruitment podcast. You've got the Shining Stars Masterclass, which it is now. You are very visible. What advice would you give to someone who's just about to start on that kind of personal brand journey? And what impact do you think a personal brand has on your business?
Okay, we'll come back to that. Remind me the question in a bit. Right, if you're about to embark on this personal brand, don't try and mimic somebody else. The whole point of a personal brand is it has to be authentic to you. And think about, what do I want somebody to think of when they think of me, and what is the reality of that? And that's where your authenticity and your voice has to be totally original. We've got the benefit of hindsight. You know, we all, I guess, as business owners, as business leaders, we had to put ourselves out there. You know, for me, I didn't necessarily have a strategy. It's part of the reason why I did the HOXO Academy, because I knew I was doing the right things, but I had no strategy to it at all. And I was happy to share vulnerability, because ultimately that is just me. I'll say the things that maybe other people won't say. And when I started to get feedback on that initially last year, that was from my client base, from my actual business owners in my portfolio. They were saying, you know, you're saying what we want to say, but we daren't say it. And I'm like, well, why not? Why can't you say it? So I think if you're starting on the journey, think really hard about first of all, who's your audience? Who are you talking to? And just really authentic. And, you know, don't copy what other people are doing, because it's really boring and people will right through it, and it's disingenuous. So, and actually then that sort of contradicts what personal brand is about. Really think about whatever your job is, whatever your career space is, really think about who you're connected to. It's always quality over quantity. I'm a huge believer in that. And learn, you know, ask questions, invest. I invested at a time where, you know, there wasn't much money coming in, but I put my money where my mouth was with the HOXO Academy. And I thought, I'm going to have to do this, because I know I want to elevate myself, because I've been doing it a long time. And it's very kind to get that feedback. You know, I love the recruitment industry. I think we are, you know, we're a multi-billion-pound industry. I think we are hugely privileged to do the job that we do. We partner people in a career journey. We're changing people's lives, and you could never really say that pre-COVID. It was always a bit like, you know, go and get a job in the job centre. No. What we do is we are life-changing, and you know, we genuinely. That's what we should be doing. That if you're in the sector for that reason, then you're in the right sector. And so for me, my job, I think, as a rec to rec, is to engage with people on that journey, that's how they believe. And it's about sort of the cascade effect, that if you're then going to go and recruit an HR manager or a shop floor assistant or somebody in hospitality, you're going to impact that person's life. And the personal brand element is that in every single action you take, and that's on and offline, your brand continues offline. So there's no point coming out with, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but I'll try and keep it clean. But, you know, there's so much bullshit on LinkedIn. If you're not actually doing that in your day job, there's no point saying, oh, you know, we're an ethical service, but then you're actually doing things against GDPR and sending CVs out without the candidate's permission. It happens all the time. So be fluid what you're doing and really think about that. And, you know, don't be afraid to set yourself apart. I think I'm quite a little bit controversial, certainly in the Northwest, because I'm so candidate driven and I talk about that. And I know that there are people that are rather derisory about that because that they see it as a negative thing, or maybe I'm a threat, I don't know. But there's also an element of I don't care.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
What was the question?
How important is it to your business? So how important is a personal brand to your business?
Well, I measure it. So I measure it every single year in terms of actual revenue into my business, of what percentage of those people came through LinkedIn usually, and what percentage of people came through referrals. And actually, it's always been around the 20%. So 20% of my business comes from LinkedIn. And that's a lot of money. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it's a lot of money. So in terms of, making yourself stand out, the thing is, if you're a bit cynical about, we don't need a personal brand, we've got a great company website, whatever, you're going to miss out because your competitors will be doing it. And it's as simple as that. So your personal brand is who you are within your business. And that's where, going back to sort of hiring people based on, values and getting to know them and understanding what they're about and the why, matching people on the why within your business means that you'll all actually have similar values.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, brilliant. Well, thank you so much. I've got to say, I don't know if you can see the comments your side, but they've been going absolutely
crazy. I've taken my glasses off, so I can't see anyway. But
they've been going absolutely crazy. I want to thank every single person who's come and listened to us. I want to thank you for coming. I want to have you on again. Anyone genuinely who's here who wants to come on as a guest, you are welcome. I know a few of you have been already, but I'd love to have you on. It's just been a really inspiring story. I knew it would be. But yeah, you just demonstrate time and time again that you are kind. You really do care about what you do. You are a shining light to others. You're always there to support others when somebody else is feeling down and everyone is having a wobble. You're the first one to pick everyone up. So I just want to say thank you for that.
Oh, I'm gonna cry.
I'm gonna cry. I love you so much. I just think you're right. And genuinely, the people who, Shannon's just piped up as well, who works for Lysha. The clients and candidates that you deal with are lucky to have you. You are. And I think it's really important, especially on LinkedIn, to demonstrate that recruiters really, really care about what they do. They really, really care about what they do. And if you partner with the right ones, you'll get the best, and you treat them right, you'll get the best out of them. You will get the best candidates. You'll get to the top of the pile, because it's important for us as recruiters to place people in companies where we would want to work. So important.
That is, and that it's I'm really pleased you made that point. We as human beings become more discerning as we get older anyway. I think it's just something, you might say grumpy old granny, but actually you become more discerning who you spend time with, who you want to speak to. And when you're looking at hiring people for your business, think about the recruiter that you trust the most, and then think about what they can offer you and trust what they're about. And that's where true partnership has got to mean that in its true definition. You are not there just to get them CVs and get them CVs. It's about what can we do differently? How can we get the best talent, and managing each other's expectations. But I do think genuinely, what you just said is very kind. I feel privileged to do the job I do, and we're all human beings together. And the last year or the last 18 months now, we've just got to learn to be kinder to each other as well as being kind to ourselves, and just laugh every day, find joy in everything that you do. Why do we make things so bloody difficult when life is simple enough? Which is where, maybe that's just because I'm a single solo parent. I will cut out anything that isn't joyful or makes it hard work. Yeah, and apart from anything else, just you've only got one life, and YOLO.
Yeah. And you know what? Maybe we should come back and do a session on boundaries. But yeah, thank you so much. Oh, one thing I do need to mention is my free Taking Control of Your Career workshop is tomorrow night at 7:00. I put the comment on here if anyone wants to join. There's about 110 people that have signed up so far. And honestly, it's the best. It's one of the best things I do. I love it. The energy that comes on that session is just incredible. So if anyone wants to experience it, come and have a look tomorrow at 7:00. But thank you. You have been an absolute joy, as I thought I knew you would be. Thank you so much, and have a lovely rest of the week, won't you?
Yeah, you too. Thanks for having me, and thank you everybody for your support. Lots of love.
Lots of love.